Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the broadcast. It's a pleasure to be with you here today. This is a great day to be alive with so much happening at the weekend. I am glad you are tuning in from ground zero and from the diaspora to be part of this broadcast today. I am so sorry. Every time we promise coming to you at 8 p.m., we're coming to you 30 minutes, 40 minutes, 1 hour after that. It's just the difficulties here in bringing you the production from the studio. From the studio, you will be surprised how long it takes us to prepare every one of these broadcasts. It's a lot of time consuming. And sometimes it can take 2 days, and I really mean 2 days, to bring a presentation like this to you. But I am glad you are patient, waiting in there and waiting for me to come to you with this broadcast. Please, we are going to immediately resume with this presentation proper. But before I get there, I would like you to, as usual, go ahead, hit your share button. This is going to be packed full. I have with me in the studio or on set, Prof. Ayim, who is the Chief of Staff to the President, Dr. Samuel Sako. I also have with me Barrister John Frunso, and of course, Ntumfoin Bo Herbert. They will be weighing in. They will be weighing in on the events of the last weekend and, of course, the past 3 weeks in general. I am talking about the Chan competition with their last match scheduled for Saturday in Victoria, and the events in Bamenda over the weekend, talking about the visit of Cardinal Parolin from the Vatican, with all the messages and the actions talking about the lockdowns in the city of Bamenda. So we're going to be weighing into these messages, and please, I love you to stay put, and I will be right back. But please go ahead and hit your share button, bring everybody from the social media to be converged here for this very, very important broadcast. Thank you. All right, thank you, ladies and gentlemen, once more, and welcome to ABC Live, coming to you all the way from the great state of Texas, precisely here in Houston, Texas. It's a privilege always to come to you with updates on the Amazonia restoration struggle. Amazonia restoration struggle. We don't call it independence struggle. We got independence, ladies and gentlemen, but we need that independence actualized. That is why we call it restoration struggle. So thank you, all of you watching from Latin America, from Canada, from the USA, from the UK, from all of Europe, the EU, Asia. Thank you once more for tuning in. Please go ahead, you hit your share button. Let me see these numbers jumping. Ladies and gentlemen. And why you get the numbers jumping, I will go ahead, bring you my monologue. And again, after the monologue, I will be joined by Intumfoin Bo Herbert, Barrister John Fru Inso, and Professor Martin Ayim. I will be joined with them after the monologue in the panel. So please, I like the way the numbers are jumping. Go ahead, hit your share button while I bring you the monologue. It is very important. We get this message, take it out to Bamenda, to Victoria, all of Fako indeed. And of course, the rest of Amazonia, I will do the best to bring out this message at the end of the day in an audio format. But let's go ahead with the presentation. Fellow Ambazonians, in the past 3 weeks, our resolve to prove that we control our territory and that we are well capable to defend our restoration came under severe test. In Victoria, for instance, the colonial regime in Yaoundé imposed some foreign tournament, the so-called Chan, upon the city. And in Bamenda, colonial administrators there began sealing up shops of some very, very hard-working citizens of Ambazonia. And a religious visit from the Vatican that was supposed to be apolitical turned heavily political. In both situations, in Victoria and in Bamenda, we demonstrated ample presence and control over the events. In both situations, the interim government declared total lockdowns and passed instructions to our restoration forces to strictly enforce them. I come to you today to say thank you to Fako, and thank you to Bamenda on behalf of the interim government. But even more, we say thank you to the Ambazonia Restoration Forces in these 2 counties for their exceeding bravery. In Fako, we witnessed the overwhelming resolve of our people to resist the temptation of wanting to show up at this so-called Chan tournament, the tournament La République du Cameroon wanted to use to send a message to the world that there is no war going on in our territory. The people of Fako and the restoration forces denied La République du Cameroon the message. The empty stadium in Victoria for the entire duration of the marches played there is a testimony. The determination of our forces to disrupt the entire event, despite the fact that the whole county was militarized, speaks volumes for their bravery and doggedness. Not only was the stadium empty, we took off electricity. We got their military working extra hard, really hard, around the city and enforcing lockdown and smuggling pockets of funds from Douala through the creeks of Tico by night into Victoria. The participating teams and their fans were literally caged in highly military fortified hotels in Victoria throughout the competition, and we denied them accommodation in Boya and deprived them of any loitering or leisure in the beautiful streets of Victoria and Boya too. But above all, we succeeded 99.9% to suck the hair out of projected revenue in ticket sales that CAF in La République anticipated during the competition. At one point, CAF officials drew their indignation to the ticket situation and asked that Cameroon move the matches out of Victoria. But sensing an air of humiliation that would accompany such a move, Cameroon authorities took a political decision and insisted that all the matches scheduled for Victoria must all take place there. When CAF officials argued and complained, the tickets are not being sold and that the organization may forfeit millions in ticket sales, Cameroon said not to worry, that they will pay any unsold tickets from their own treasury, the treasury of taxpayers. Like in Fako, the restoration forces and the people of Bamenda got the city locked down throughout the weekend to send the message that we own and control the land. At this moment, the interim government is reliably informed that all the shops that were sealed by city colonial officials, including those of the Bamenda main market, have now been unsealed without any of the shop owners having to pay any fines. However, the illegal tolls being collected from Okada riders by colonial gendarmes, colonial police, and the colonial army or occupying army all over the city of Bamenda remain an issue that we will continue to monitor. As of now, the interim government has taken the decision to lift the indefinite lockdown with effect from tomorrow, Tuesday, February the 2nd. Bamenda can once more get back to business as usual. Mondays will, however, remain our country Sundays as usual. Mondays will remain ghosted in all of Amazonia until those who called for war declare a ceasefire and meet with us at a negotiation table. The interim government can promise you that any form of colonial intimidation on the people for observing Monday ghost towns will be met with merciless retaliation on their institutions and individual officials trying to enforce it. As we move on from here, ladies and gentlemen, we are calling for an awakening, a new spirit of collaboration and solidarity within the business community in all of the towns and cities in Amazonia. Never again should one shop be shut down or sealed up in any town or city while other shops remain open doing business. The spirit of solidarity should entail that when a single shop is shut down by colonial officials on the basis of shop owners' resistance to colonial intimidation, that every other shop in that town or city should also be shut down. That means when one shop is shut down in the Bamenda main market or in Victoria or Kumba, all the other traders should voluntarily shut down too until the sealed shops are unsealed. If this is coordinated, enforced, practiced, and perfected, there will be no need for long lockdowns such as the one observed in Bamenda last weekend. The interim government doesn't want to be in the habit of constantly calling for lockdowns because we are very much aware of how you are affected by these lockdowns in terms of revenue losses. But we also cannot be seen to be nonchalant and complacent. When they come sealing down your shops, the interim government cannot remain complacent. We are forced to take necessary action. That's why lockdowns become necessary. As we make progress in this war of restoration, we must continue to think creatively, devising such weapons that should enhance our ability to continue to hold our Republic of Cameroon spellbound. Combined action is one of them, and we wish that our traders in particular will begin to utilize it to have their shops and businesses remain open. While lockdown is over in Bamenda, Fako in particular and all of Amazonia are reminded of these other lockdowns that are by the corner. The Republic of Cameroon is taking their semi-final match against Morocco to Victoria. The match is scheduled to take place on Wednesday at the Sako or Mispo Stadium. I would really like to call it Molali Tumbe Stadium. Molali Tumbe Stadium. This match will be another test of our resolve to spite anything that is La République du Cameroon. They are hoping that because it is Cameroon, that Victoria and Fako will show up in their numbers at the stadium to watch their Lions play. But let me state that it will be almost suicidal for any of us to want to show up in that stadium for the match. Showing up for the match will entail we are supporting Cameroon. It will also entail that, as they say it, we still have some strands of Cameroonese in us. We couldn't have gotten a better opportunity, ladies and gentlemen, to demonstrate the level of our hatred or abhorrence for anything that is Cameroonese. If we didn't go there for all of the matches already played, but only show up to watch this one that involves the Cameroon team, we would then have sent a message that we still love Cameroon and we still want to be yoked together with them. We are sending a message we still have some strands of Cameroonese in us. No, we don't have to. We cannot make the mistake of sending this kind of message to anyone, not at all. On Wednesday, therefore, all of Sako shall be completely shut down or locked down to any form of public activity and movement. A lockdown is hereby declared on Fako County for Wednesday, that is after tomorrow. There shall be no intercity or intercounty movement of any sort, private or public transportation. Tiko Douala will be shut down. Boya Kumba Road will also be shut down. Victoria, Mutengene, Tiko and Boya shall be totally grounded of any movement. Any vehicles, including Okadas, seen plying any of the streets and roads within Boya, Mutengene, Tiko, and Victoria shall be confiscated and or destroyed. The same fate shall befall any cars or vehicles seen in the street on Wednesday anywhere in Fako. Any automobile seen plying the streets of Fako that Wednesday or on Wednesday shall be taken for that of Cameroon military, and they will be a target for attack by the Ambazonia Restoration Forces. If you live in Victoria, we urge you to stay away from anywhere close to that stadium. No amount of military is going to stop us or the Ambazonia forces from taking out any target in that area. A word to the wise, they say, is sufficient. While Fako braces up for Wednesday, all of Ambazonia is equally reminded to brace up for the 11th of February lockdown. As you all are aware, 11 February happens to be one of those colonial holidays that we have outlawed in our territory. This one will be no exceptions. The lockdown has been declared to start from February the 8th through February the 11th. Again, it starts on February the 8th through February the 11th. Before I conclude this monologue, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to take a moment to correct a misconception out there that we have seen out there by enablers and allies of La République du Cameroun. This concerns the visit of Cardinal Parolin to Bamenda last weekend. Ladies and gentlemen, contrary to what they will want you to believe, the interim government didn't set out to stop or frustrate the Cardinal's visit to Bamenda, not at all. Our message to the people of Bamenda was very, very clear, and it was that they sent a message to the Vatican by staying home. The message was well understood, and the people of Bamenda stayed home. Those who felt an obligation to be there trekked there and trekked back home without any incidents. The Vatican visitor saw the empty street for himself, and nobody Nobody could deceive him that all is okay in Bamenda. The visit was so tightly teleguided that even Ferdinand Ingo, a man who is hardly seen in any part of Ambazonia for any reason, was flown into Bamenda to sit there and to make sure that the occasion remained very strictly religious. I have said that our people in Bamenda succeeded to pass their message to the Vatican guests, because not only did they stay home, but you compare the relaxed atmosphere in Yaoundé when the guests arrived to the very tense atmosphere in Bamenda, where from his landing all you could find were a handful of clergy and hundreds of military men surrounding him with guns. From upstation Bamenda down to Mankon, the cardinal saw no vehicles on the streets of Bamenda, but military trucks with guns popping out of them. Most of the crowd that was assembled at the event ground, we have learned, had to be ferried in from Mbunda and the neighborhoods by Lele Lafrique, the colonial governor. The majority at the grandstand at Big Mankon were not from within Bamenda. Lele Lafrique, in collaboration with other city colonial officials, hired buses and taxis in which they seated a soldier in front and a soldier at the back to help pick up people trekking in from as far as Bambui and Bambili and other neighborhoods. That, according to Archbishop Nke, was the success that the event was, in their own words. But if there was any lesson we gleaned from that event, ladies and gentlemen, it is that our fears that the Catholic Church doesn't care about you, not about the killings, was reaffirmed loud and clear yesterday. We are learning from the newspapers, for example, that the Cardinal's main message to us was for our restoration forces to drop their arms. We didn't hear him as Cameroon leaders to declare a ceasefire for the war. We didn't hear the Cardinal ask Cameroon to end the daily genocidal crimes. We didn't see him meeting with our community leaders as he did with politicians in Yaoundé. Archbishop Andrew Nke was quick, very quick to take a swipe and a mockery at all of us when he provocatively stated that we are all enemies who could not stop the fate of his spectators brought in from Mbunda. Archbishop Nke referred to us collectively as molesters and killers. He said, we have held children from going to school for 4 years, that we have killed even pastors and the priests too. Before turning around in the character of the old man and the Meda at the community center to heap accolades on colonial officials who had swarmed in at the event to make sure no political statements were made. I can go on and on, but there is no time. I don't want to bore you with those messages. I shouldn't want to bore you anymore, of course. But the message we get is that we are on our own. We are on our own. Our destiny lies in our hands. We will not win this war with the help of those churches or clergy. We will win this war with our determination and our patience. We will win this war with firepower and with economic sabotage. Let us all get engaged. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for tuning in and for sitting in to listen to this monologue. Now, I will bring in my panel. Again, I am joined here tonight by Intumfoin, Bo Herbert, who is joining me from the great state of Maryland. Intumfoin, once more, it's a pleasure to have you, sir.
My pleasure, bro. Thank you very much for having me.
All right. I'm also joined by Barrister Insult John. Barrister, it's a pleasure to have you, sir.
Thank you very much, Chris, for inviting me once more. Thank you.
All right. And also joining me from the great state of Louisiana is the Chief of Staff at the Presidency of the Federal Republic of Amazonia, Professor Martin Ayim. It's a pleasure, sir. I don't think I can hear you, sir. I think you are muted at your end. Your volume is very low. You are on, but the volume very, very low. All right. While you check the volume, let me get straight to Barrister John. Barrister John, the world was watching yesterday. The world was watching yesterday as Cardinal Pietro Parolin descended on Bamenda. Unlike what we saw in Yaoundé, the tranquility and the relaxation in the atmosphere in Yaoundé, in Bamenda, we saw a very, very tense atmosphere. What did you make of that, sir?
It was pathetic, to say the least, Chris. The man arrived at Bamenda Station with a contingent of military men. Can you get me?
Yes, sir. 5 on 5.
Okay. He arrived at Bamenda Station and was received by a contingent of military men and a few bishops of the Bamenda Ecclesiastical Province. He rode from Bamenda to the cathedral, seeing no fly, no motorcycle, no vehicle on the road. That is a tense environment, very tense environment for anybody to arrive at. All he saw were vehicles that were accompanying him, some ahead of him, some behind him, all in armored cars and military hardware and military men with guns drawn. And he got to the cathedral and went into the cathedral. What happened yesterday, I watched very carefully. I watched the speech of here, and I can tell you, Chris, from my observation, that speech was crafted in Yaoundé. Why do I say that? Because can you imagine the so-called man of God, the Archbishop of the Metropolitan Cathedral of Bamenda, where 4 children were gunned down not up to a kilometer from the cathedral at Metakwata. In his speech, he made no mention of that. Even though just 24 hours before the arrival of the cardinal, there was a funeral of those children conducted in Bamenda. All the young people in Bamenda came out in black. You saw that. You saw the image.
Yes, right.
And our man of God did not think that he could mention that. I don't think he is that callous. I think that speech was carefully crafted in Yaoundé. Because if you listen to it, it was all about calling us enemies. It was all about calling us people who have prevented children from going to school for more than 4 years. It was all about praises on the regime. He praised, first of all, he praised the regime for giving the cathedral a facelift. That tells us that some money was budgeted and spent on the cathedral by the regime. He praised the regime for sending an envoy, who was Ngongo Ferdinand, and he And in the end, he prays against him. He praises on the head of it. But he said nothing about the suffering of the body of Christ, which are the population of the Northwest and the Southwest, as they call it, the Northern Zone and the Southern Zone, as they call it.
Right. Let me move to Intumfon. Intumfon, I would like you to tell us, what do you make of the fact that Ferdinand Ingo, I have never seen this man or learned that this man ever went to Ambazonia. But he was flown into Bamenda, and he was flying, by the usual lot of public style. He was essentially given the reception of Paul Biya in Bamenda. What do you make of him flying to Bamenda for the visit of a cardinal?
Well, first, we were not only dealing with a cardinal. This is the Minister of Foreign Affairs of the Vatican. But the more important thing, I think, is that Ferdinand Gongo, we cannot forget, has got permanent signature of Mr. Biya. Mr. Biya, being a political deadwood, is reliant heavily on Ferdinand Gongo to do his bidding. What we saw in Bamenda was the meeting of the hawks of war. The radical right wing of the ruling party, headed by Ferdinand Gongo, the warlords in Yaoundé, who want every one of our people dead, that was the wing that was in Bamenda. That was the wing that brought the cardinal to Bamenda. And it is appropriate that the wing of the Catholic Church, that is also for the killing of our people, was shown very clearly to be hand in glove with these people. The big message we can take is that there is another place where there was genocide facilitated by the Catholic Church in Rwanda, and the Catholic Church was ruined as a result of that process. What Archbishop Nkea is doing is going to lead to the ruin of the Catholic Church, because he is attached to this wing that does not care about the life of people, that does not care about justice for the people, and that does not care about fact. And, he will say, as he said in his speech before the start of Holy Mass, that some people were involved with politics. Well, the biggest politicians in the church are the bishops. And I would dare say that Archbishop Nkea is one of the finest politicians. He's also a fine priest and pastor, but he is one of their finest politicians. And whatever he is doing is political. And I'm afraid he himself needs to look himself in the mirror. What he needs to do to be able, and we are helping the Vatican see the difference, is we are uploading the pictures of the Pope arriving Bamenda, so that they can see what kind of welcome we give our people when we are willing to welcome them. And we are also uploading the pictures of Archbishop Nkea himself traveling from Mamfe into Bamenda, so everyone can see how we welcome somebody when we want to welcome them. And so you can know the difference between what is welcome and when we are telling people, we are sending a message that our people are in suffering, and that we do not intend to endure that suffering to the end because we seek justice.
Thank you. Prof. Ayim, I don't know whether your microphone is good now. Give us your take on what we saw in Bamenda yesterday. You listened to Archbishop Andrew Nkea, and I read a little piece that you posted in the social media, telling people because of the agitations, some people were quite frustrated by what they saw in Bamenda yesterday, and you took to the social media arguing that, listen, it was a success. Please give us a take on the way you look at things as unfold yesterday. Provide him, please. Prophet Ayim, unfortunately, your audio is on. We just do not hear you. All right, while you are looking at that, let me get to Barrister John. Barrister John, look at that scenario. Many people were disappointed yesterday. They felt like, all these people who showed up there, why did they go there? Where were they coming from? But of course, we have now realized that they were brought in, many from Bunda, many from seminaries around Bamenda. But speak to the people who feel disappointed with that show up yesterday.
Yes, Chris, I must tell you that our people should not be disappointed because the interim government took charge and the lockdown worked perfectly. Let me tell our people what we now know. We know that Bishop Kia was financed heavily by the Republic of Cameroon to bring in delegations about a week before that event, even before we announced and programmed the lockdown. They brought in delegations from the seminary. All the seminarians were now housed in the Catholic University, which is in the same compound with the cathedral. They brought in people from as far as Baput, as far as Bambui, and so on. All those CWA women were brought from outside and lodged in the Catholic University and the letter of Lord all around the cathedral a week before. So the crowd you saw there were not a crowd from Bamenda. As you rightly said, a big crowd came from Bunda, and the rest came from as far away as Fako a week before. These are fanatic Catholics that would not stay without saying their of course their big man of the church. So Bishop Kia did all that in collaboration with the other bishops. They ferried in people a week before, and they all stayed in all those institutions I just mentioned. So, my people of Bamenda, you did a good job. You stayed home. You watched the scenario unfold before you. What you saw was not the Catholic, was not the body of Christ that exists in Bamenda. It came from outside. Therefore, you have no reason to talk about a failure. It was a 100% success on the part of the people of Bamenda to have obeyed the interim government and stayed home throughout this scenario. And I take this opportunity to thank our people, especially the restoration forces, that did not harm anybody. Some people came there on foot from neighboring Mancon and Pen and other places. Some very stubborn Catholics came there on foot, and nobody was hurt. Everybody got there, and the few crowd that you saw there, the crowd that you saw there is not even the crowd that usually attends the mass in the Bamenda Metropolitan Cathedral. But that said, the population of Bamenda respected the ghost town 100%. And I take this opportunity to thank all my country people, to thank everybody that participated, that stayed home and send the message to this envoy to take to the Pope and to tell the Pope that we know what the Catholic Church is all about. We have no pretensions about what the Catholic Church will present since from the day of the massacre in Rwanda. They did what they did in Rwanda, they are doing it now in the southern Cameroon.
Okay. Let me see. Prof. Ayim, please, can you try making some noise there? I see that your microphone is turned on here. However, we can't hear your voice. Maybe you want to log out and log back in. Try to log out and log back in, sir. While you do so, let me get to Intumfon. Intumfon, I'm sure you listened to the message from Archbishop Nke yesterday. He didn't hold back. He didn't hold back from boasting and provocatively so that we made it. A successful event, a great event that some separatists wanted to stop. Some, he referred to us as killers of those who have killed some priests and injured some priests. I thought he was going to say that the regime has killed priests. Even in his own diocese in Mamfe, they did so. They have done so in Bambui when they killed the visiting missionary from the USA. Many others. You think that you will cease on that occasion in the presence of your visiting secretary in Cardinal to say this is what we are going through here, and the state is responsible? No, he didn't say that, but he went right after people who are oppressed, fighting for their own freedoms. What do you make of that, sir?
Well, again, I am not surprised by what we're hearing, because if you go back and check what has happened all along, the connections to the regime are very deep. Now, we don't need too much investigation to go back and find audio of Archbishop Nkea talking to the BBC from out of Mamfe when he was the bishop there, explaining who had killed the priest. We know who killed the priest in Moyoka. We know who killed the pastor, the American pastor in Bambui. We know who killed the Ghanaian pastor in Momo State. So this is not science. This is not rocket science. The archbishop was basically saying, I am the prophet of lies. I am here to kiss up to Mr. Biya and his regime. I am here sponsored by the Biya regime, which gave him a lot of support when he was working with the seminary, setting up the seminary in Mamfe. Tabetando told us who had received the money from the regime and who people should go to so that they can surrender their weapons and come out of the bushes, the voices. They told us very clearly who was in charge. He confessed to all of us that, they received a lot of money to put this thing together. And his speech was intended to rub it in. His speech was to say, just look what a good boy I am for this regime. We have seen that before. We have seen priests who have given up their calling on behalf of the politics, because he was accusing people of politics. All his speech was politics. And we have recorded him before, even on Easter night, spending the Easter sermon, which is one of the most important sermons in the church calendar, spending it on and transforming the altar of God into a political rally against those he believes to be his political enemies. Archbishop Nkea has a right to take sides in politics, but I dare say that he has no right to bring that politics into church. Just the same way he was saying nobody should bring politics to church. There was no intention on the part of the people of Ambazonia from preventing anyone who wanted to go to Mass. That is why people who wanted to trek were still able to go to Mass without being hurt. The purpose was send a strong message that the people of Ambazonia do not agree with the regime of Yaoundé showing any control over our people and over our territory. And if Archbishop Nkea had any consideration for the people of Bamenda and considered the risk that they would be taking if they decided to go to church, he would have encouraged many of them to stay home and watch all of this event from TV, on TV. They would have done an indoor event. There were a double risk here. There's the risk of coronavirus, which, you have to stop gatherings. They stopped them in Rome. They stopped them all over. Masses were being done in Rome without the congregation. The Pope himself has issued a dispensation for Catholics with respect to going to church during this coronavirus pandemic. And you had the double risk of people putting their own lives at risk, going out to say they were going to the cathedral. There was no consideration for that. Instead, the only thing that needed to be done was to show to the hawks of war in Yaoundé that the Catholic Church in the ecclesiastical province of Bamenda, which is a big disgrace because there are so many fine priests doing their work, so many fine bishops, other bishops, just doing their work. But you have an archbishop, whom I have to say, I mean, I'm a Catholic, I'm practicing Catholic. And in fact, I went to a junior seminary. You know, but we have an archbishop who is absolutely determined to do politics and to do it in the nastiest way, and to do it so he can deny justice to a people who are asking just what they're asking. I mean, could Archbishop Nkea swallow the words of the memorandum that they presented to Mr. Biya? That is just how ridiculous his speech was. It consisted of saying everything we ever said before, we are not saying. And the only thing I could compare it to was, you know, Donald Trump.
Okay. Let me see whether we have Prof. Ayim. Prof. Ayim, can you try again? Let's see, please. Well, we still cannot hear you. We still cannot hear you. Everything is okay on our end here. I will suggest again, try logging out and logging back in, or you change your gadget. Let's see, you try that. Let's see, I can't hear you at all. I see you nodding your head. I don't know what you are saying. All right, let me get to Barrister John. Yes. Why Archbishop Nkea was in Bamenda trying as hard as he could to pass the message that everything was okay in Bamenda. Now, let's look at this. This is what was happening in Bue, in Kumbo, precisely. Look at that. Why they were up in Bamenda, this is what the French Cameroon army was inflicting upon powerless people in a village called Inse. It's in Kumbo. But they were in Bamenda telling us, Nkea was telling us, there are trials, but everything is okay. And of course, there was no way the cardinal could get a message like this one. However, would you say that the cardinal left with any other message other than that he realized, even without being told, that Bamenda was an uneasy place, that Ambazonia was indeed a war zone?
Yes, Chris, I really feel so bad for the Catholic Church. While they were doing their ceremony in the cathedral, 3 priests were also burying our people in Bui. People who were removed from their homes and shot point blank by the Cameroon army, 3 of them, and all of them were being buried at the same time that Bishop Nkea was speaking, and also the cardinal who came visiting was speaking. I am very surprised that the cardinal did not know or left Bamenda without knowing that while he was preaching in Bamenda, people were being buried in Banso, in what you call now Bui, killed by the Cameroon army. The cardinal could not have left Bamenda without knowing that just before his arrival, 4 children were gunned down in Metakwata. Bishop Nkea, in his callous manner, made no mention of the massacres that took place in Nzer and in Metakwata. You see, I don't know what the Catholic Church has become. I think the Catholic Church is playing the role that the Catholic Church played in Rwanda in 1984. Because I cannot understand how a man of God would not have seen or known what was happening in Bui during that ceremony that they were holding in Bamenda. And all the two ceremonies were being presided by Catholic priests. In Bui, the Catholic priests were burying the people shot down by La République du Cameroon. And in Bamenda, the Catholic priests were presiding and praising the regime of Mr. Biya.
And they were all flanked by the regime of Mr. Biya. The governor was there, the so-called Anglophone ministers, elite, yes. They were there, Lele Lafrique and the chiefs. Even our own Abdulkarim was there. I was going to have him here to find out if he indeed had a face-to-face with a cardinal, but unfortunately, he didn't have a good connection.
I have information, Chris, that Abdulkarim was there with some Muslim clerics at the invitation of the Catholic Church. They didn't go there for us. They went there as a church. And of course, I hope that our Abdulkarim used the occasion to pass a message to let, our own side of the story to the cardinal in a brief manner, because I don't think the meeting was that long. I don't know what kind of meeting, because I saw Abdulkarim in his traditional regalia on the podium with the cardinal, with the visiting cardinal.
Right.
And I don't know what transpired, but the fact remains that while they were presiding in the cathedral, their colleague priests were presiding over the burial of people that have been gunned down by the regime forces. And they were flanked by people dressed in white and white, calling themselves the governor, the SDO, the DOs of Bamenda, everybody dressed in white, and with Mr. Ferdinand Gongo in the black suit in the middle, and they were all flanked. They flanked all those people in a ceremony. A church ceremony became a military ceremony. I don't understand, Chris. I don't understand where the Catholic Church is going. But I want to tell you, this is the second time the Catholic Church is doing this for Africa. They did it in Rwanda, and they have done it in Amazonia.
Well, it is no longer hidden. I think everybody now knows it, that the Catholic Church in Cameroon in particular, in Cameroon in general, and Amazonia in particular, no longer are on the side of the people. They do not stand on the side of the people. We have seen their inability to condemn outrightly all the killings in Amazonia. We have seen their inability to speak truth to power in Yaoundé, to the effect that Yaoundé is able to stop this war by merely calling for a ceasefire. No, the Catholic Church hasn't. The Catholic Church hasn't as much as said to Yaoundé. The Swiss are offering their free service to negotiate, to mediate this conflict. Why not go? They have not. And all that they do is speak the language of Yaoundé. Professor Ayim, I can see that your microphone is on. I am thinking that your volume is definitely turned down, because I can see the reading here is up and down, showing that you are receiving some audio over there, but we just can't hear your voice. I am thinking that your microphone may have been muted. However, well, unfortunately, I still cannot hear you. I can see your actions, but I don't hear you. So let me get to Ntumfo in place. Again, the Catholic Church has failed the people, and I see a lot of bitterness, anger out there from members of the Catholic Church. You are a staunch Catholic, as you said, you went to a seminary. Some people have suggested that people should start withholding their money from the church. Is that what you would suggest?
Well, I wouldn't go that far, not just yet, because let's not forget what it is. The church is the body of Christ. It's not that building, and it's not the priest, and it's not the bishop. So there is fine work that is being done by the Catholic Church and other churches all across Ambazonia, including running orphanages, running hospitals, running schools, and funding to the Catholic Church, including through alms, is part of the money that gets used in that particular social programs. And so I would not say go there yet. But I'll go to a question you raised with Barrister So, and it is, did Abdulkarim go there on our behalf? Abdulkarim, yes, had a one-on-one with the Cardinal. He had an opportunity to speak with him. And he did pass a message. And I think we will remember that when we were on this program with Abdulkarim, we indicated that he was our representative. He should go there and he should transmit the message of the people of Ambazonia, seeking in the most peaceful way, as we've always done, to restore the independence of Ambazonia and to get recognized under international law as a people different from the people of La République de Cameroon, as a country different from the country called Cameroon, with a right to diplomatic relations with even the Vatican. And we spoke about the need for the Cardinal to think about a National Episcopal Conference for Ambazonia. And so, although Abdulkarim was in the company of, Muslim religious leaders, he was also there in a double capacity. To that effect, we would say thank you, Archbishop Kea, for making sure that, it's not just the view of La République de Cameroon that is heard. No matter how short that particular moment was, we know to convey a side of the story, because the lies that were being told needed to be debunked. And we know that Abdulkarim is now the target of people up there on social media calling for his head. He's a solid man. He's a guy who is willing to lay his life down for our people. He knows what it means to be an upright person. And in the middle of the activity that he was doing, his boldness to be there and to be able to speak up on behalf of our people, we were able to see. And, Sunday was the readings for the Catholic Church on Sunday, the first reading from Deuteronomy and the Gospel spoke about Christ speaking with authority, coming to teach with authority in the synagogue in Capernaum. And what happened there, what happened with Archbishop Kea, was Archbishop Kea speaking the language of the scribes and the Pharisees, speaking the language of the people who taught without authority, because they spoke not the word of God, not the truth. They did not uphold justice. They spoke their own political feelings from the altar of God. And Deuteronomy, in the reading that they read yesterday in the Catholic Church, it says to them, if you do so much as speak an oracle that I have not commanded you, you will die. That's the promise. And Bishop Kea, who is a fine preacher, who is a great scholar, knows this better than I do.
He didn't read that section of it, right?
Well, they had special readings for that particular ceremony, but every Catholic would at the minimum say their morning prayers and look at the scripture readings for a day like Sunday, which is a day of obligation. So, and in any case, I'm not teaching him that. He may have read it and preached about it 1,001 times. But Christ came so that the kind of preaching that Archbishop Kea was preaching there, he came so that he can command evil spirits, so he can exorcise us of the demons in us, because that was his first demonic exorcism, right there in the synagogue in Capernaum. And that is what he came to do, to speak truth to evil, to speak to the wind and speak to the sea and ask it to stay calm. People astonished. People went bamboozled by has basically become a spokesperson for the CPDM.
Well, talking about Abdulkarim going there to be part of that event, I will defend him with everything within me, because I think it was last week when I came here stating that with the cardinal meeting with almost every political person that matters in Yaoundé, it was but necessary that the cardinal also meet with some community leaders in Ambazonia, and that they invited Abdulkarim, and Abdulkarim was able to at least have a word, even if it was only a word with him. I think we should applaud that. And if I were in Bamenda and had that opportunity, I would do exactly what Abdulkarim did, either as going there as a religious person or as a representative of the community. So I don't see any reason why anybody should be having a beef to fry with Abdulkarim out there. Barrister John, let me get back to you on the general message that we try to pass through the lockdown. Friday was completely locked down, some enablers, and even people that you would think that are fighting for the independence of Ambazonia. I am talking about the folks there at the AGC, the ADF. You would think that at an occasion like this, they want to step out to join hands with us to send that one message that we wanted the cardinal to take back to the Vatican. No, on the very first day that we declared the lockdown, the AGOFC and the ADF, so-called, if they exist anywhere on the ground, they came out with some fake audio messages trying to stop the lockdown. Of course, it flopped on their faces. But lockdown held successfully on Friday, on Saturday, on Sunday, and Ghost Town continues today. What do you make of the resilience of the people in Bamenda to quickly rally around a message of like this? And what also do you make of enablers, people fighting for the CPDM, talking about the AGC and the ADF and their inability to prevail on the people? Don't you think the people now realize who is indeed fighting on their behalf? Barrister John.
Yes, Chris, thank you for that question. Before I answer, let me say a little bit about what I read on Facebook published by Abdulkarim. I was expecting that Abdulkarim would publish something to show for the meeting with the cardinal. He didn't. He instead published a lesson teaching us how to collaborate, naming leaders like Ayabato, Sako, Anyangwe, and Ayutabe, and everybody should get together and collaborate. Let's get together and solve this problem and get on the negotiating table. That's
don't you think that could be the message you took away from the cardinal?
Well, that said, I would applaud him for having met with the cardinal. The intention was not to talk to the civil society. The intention was to talk to the Muslim clerics. That was what I got from Bamenda. Having said that, let me get back to your question, Chris. I would say that the interim government of the Federal Republic of Ambazonia controls all of Ambazonia, because the lockdown that was called was respected 100%. But we have these enablers, which we all know. We don't even want to continue talking about this because we make them relevant. A man like Capo Daniel and the rest of it, they came out and condemned the lockdown, and then they turn around again and take credit for what happened. So I don't understand these enablers. They are in a crossroad. They don't know which dance to dance. They dance what we call Maya dance, dance. Dance go before, dance come for back. Because I don't understand. They opposed the lockdown from the beginning, and yet yesterday I saw a video, an audio, at Capo Daniel trying to claim responsibility for the lockdown in Bamenda, in what happened and how the Catholic Church received the lockdown and so on and so forth. It was a resounding success for the interim government, and of course, not only for the interim government, for those of us, for everybody, including Kim Act, who are for the independence of the Federal Republic of Amazonia. That lockdown was respected 100%, and it was not intended for the visit of the cardinal. It was intended for what you just mentioned in your monologue, Chris, about the sealing of the souls of our people, the siege on Bamenda, which prevented our motorcycle riders from making money for their families. That is what was intended. And please, let the enablers go to sleep, because I have heard Capo Daniel take credit for what happened in Sako. They have nothing to do with Fako. ADF does not exist in Fako. I heard him take credit in Bamenda when ADF is no longer in Bamenda. I don't understand these enablers. I don't. But the fact remains that in spite of the enablers, the lockdown was respected. It was not intended for the visit of the cardinal. Let's make this clear. It just so happened that it coincided with the visit of the cardinal. That is why our restoration forces made sure that no Christian that was walking to the cathedral was harmed in any way. That's why everybody who participated in that ceremony, no harm came to anybody. And this is an example to show to La Republic that we are a civilized nation. We Ambazonians were growing to be a civilized nation, and we have to respect human life. We have to respect people's thoughts. We have to respect people's religion. That is why we allowed a few Catholics that wanted, those fanatics that wanted to go to that mass, and they went.
All right.
So I think that the lockdown was 100% a success in spite of the intervention of the enablers that we know very well.
Thank you. Intum Foin, the message that we have passed out, because when we first announced this lockdown, there was a lot of concern out there. They felt like it was just another lockdown. We were actually trying to be in solidarity with all the traders whose shops were shut down, sealed by colonial officials in Bamenda. And now we have announced that we think that people should start being creative in the area of standing up for one another. In Kumba, when the colonial officials there tried shutting down the shops in the Kumba main market and Fiango market, all the traders shut down. In Bamenda, we are expecting that going forward, not just in Bamenda, but every part of Amazonia, we want that solidarity, that kind of solidarity where when a shop is shut down, every other shop is shut down, so that the colonial administrators can learn that we are acting in unison and we are acting as one. You think this should be an option that the traders should practice all over Amazonia?
No, I mean, definitely we are. This is all for one and one for all. That's how it functions. That's how we are going to be successful. But leadership has still got to continue to show leadership, which means that if you live in a town in Amazonia right now, and you are victimized, if you are Okada riders, you're taxi drivers, or you are traders, and you are getting victimized, let us know so that we can initiate action so that other people can show solidarity to you. And I think that action, which was initiated to show solidarity with the traders in Bamenda whose shops were being shut down, that action came appropriately from leadership, telling them, look, this is what you need to do. And I think we should still continue to maintain that responsibility at our level, their job being to flag those things to us, so that we can indicate directives that they can take, so that they can take them in solidarity and they can do them together. So not one particular person is getting victimized on the ground. But again, I'll go to a second point on leadership, and it will be to comment on what my elder brother, Barrister John Fuso, just said a moment ago with respect to the message from Abdulkarim online. Because your original question to him was, wasn't it amazing that other groups that supposedly are working for the liberation, for the restoration of the independence of Ambazonia were not jumping in with us on this particular action? And what I would say is, yes, if we agree that they should have jumped in, if they support our movement, if they support the struggle, then also we have to accept that, when we have a brother like Abdul Karim, who is, all said and done, a Muslim scholar of the Bible, that his responsibility is to live up to that religious leadership. And that leadership calls on him to be able to call on us, to say, look, you need to work together. We need to hear these calls because it is important. It is what is right. It is what is the truth. It is what is the light. Now we need to find the chemistry that will allow that to work. It is right now difficult, but it is no reason for us to give up. It is absolutely important that we continue to follow that. And that is why that kind of leadership was so strongly absent from what we saw from Archbishop Nkea, because we saw the cardinal come from Rome and tell him, I'm handing you a pallium taken from the tomb of St. Peter, meaning you walk in the steps of St. Peter. Okay? When you walk in the feet of St. Peter, you accept death on behalf of the truth, because that is our call as Christians, to defend the light of Christ and the word of God. And it is a calling more particular for bishops and cardinals who wear a red cassock, indicating that they are willing to give up their own blood for Christ. And in that metropolitan cathedral in Bamenda, Archbishop Nkea's predecessors, Archbishop Verzekov, showed the way. He showed you how it is done. He is on a way, hopefully, to canonization, but he showed us how you can resist this regime and how you can uphold the word of God without fear. We saw some unfortunate situations with his successor, Archbishop Cornelius Eswa, who is now Bishop Emeritus. But we saw some unfortunate situations with where we saw the Catholic Church trying to basically steal land from Muslims, from to build the Catholic University of Bamenda. And I'm glad that after putting up a very big fight, Archbishop Cornelius Eswa finally said, look, we are wrong about this, and we give back the Muslims' land, because this land was certified by the British as belonging to those Muslims in 1940. So it was not even in dispute. And we have to know, and Archbishop Nkea knows this, that the cardinal did not pick to come to Ambazonia without the knowledge that he has seen his priests, he has seen Archbishop Cornelius Eswa kidnapped by our people, held up overnight because he broke the country Sunday. And they told Archbishop Cornelius Eswa that you shall keep the Sabbath holy, but you shall also keep country Sunday holy. And overnight, they were praying the rosary together. We have had the incidents where Bishop George Nko was taken by our people, and where they insisted with him that it is important for the church to stand with our people. We had the incident, unfortunately I have to say, we had an incident with Cardinal Tumi, which until now I believe was done by La République, because Cardinal Toumi himself has said that the people who kidnapped him called Lele l'Afrique. So if you call Lele l'Afrique, you're working for La République. And we all know that if they know that Archbishop Cornelius Eswa was kidnapped, that Bishop Nkwo was kidnapped, you don't put the fun of Nzo and Christian Cardinal Toumi on the road without escort, when you know you are sending them into that place, unless they wanted them to be killed, which they are fully capable of. They did it to the Bishop of Bafia. So frankly, I just hope that what comes out of this, the church has huge responsibility, not to us, to God, to the truth, to the word of God, to the light of Christ. If they are going to serve the people of God and serve God from the altar with any level of integrity, they will uphold the truth, they will commit to set captives free, they will commit to evoke justice, not just peace. And they will never tell the people of Ambazonia to drop their weapons without at the same time telling La République du Cameroon to drop their weapons and stop the genocidal violence.
Well, when they asked the people of the southern Cameroons to drop their weapons, I really expect them to say La République should call a ceasefire. That is what I was expecting. That would be very balanced, very, very balanced, because indeed, if La République du Cameroon should call for a ceasefire, there will be no need for anybody in Ambazonia to carry weapons. Isn't so, Barrister John?
Yes, in conventional war or in any kind of conflict, when once a ceasefire has been called, everybody stands down. Everybody stands down. That is why in every ceasefire situation, the United Nations or whichever body sends in a monitoring force, what they call the peacekeeping force or a opposition force, to ensure that everybody from both sides of the divide to stand down, drop their guns. And it doesn't mean you give up your guns, but you drop your guns, no more fighting, and the negotiations begin. Until then, Chris, no side has a right to ask the other side to drop his guns.
All right.
In fact, it is a sacrilege for a man of God to tell me to drop a gun when somebody has a gun on my head. No, it doesn't happen.
Let's move a little bit to Victoria, where La République du Cameroon is having their semi-final match against Morocco on Wednesday. We have called for a complete lockdown of Fako in general. We know that they did not decide to bring that match there, but the semi-finals were scheduled to take place in Victoria, and it happens to be La République and Morocco. We see La République doing everything that they can to bring in people into that stadium. For the past few matches, nobody in Victoria has been in that stadium. But La République is at the verge of receiving the biggest shame of their lives in this tournament on Wednesday. What should we do? I mean, I will ask this question both to you. We have asked again Fako to stay home. I have said in my monologue, if anybody goes to that stadium from Victoria, from Boya, Tiko, Motengene, around that neighborhood, they are essentially saying they still have some strands of Cameroonese in them, which is the more reason why everybody in Fako stays home. What message would you send to everybody in Victoria? Both of you, I'll start with Ntumfoin.
Well, the people of Ambazonia know that I used to be the chief of sports at radio and at CRTV. I travel around with the Indomitable Lions. So I'm a fan. I like football. I watch, a lot of football. But people know what's going on. People know what's important versus what is pleasure. And in times of war, pleasure is to be bypassed. The pleasure of going to a stadium to watch a game. If you so like this game, it's going to be on TV. There's no reason for you to try to break the lockdown to say you're going to go to the stadium. But we do know, as with the case with Bamenda and the Cardinal, that La République de Cameroon is going to bring people from Douala. They're going to bring them from Yaoundé. They're going to, everybody in military training everywhere around Ambazonia and around La République will be bussed in. So you have 3 military people for every 4 people that will be in Victoria on that day. We also know that Victoria is the city that they have infiltrated. They have tried to depopulate of our people and completely populate with their own people, including through recruitments at a place like Sonara. And so you will go to Half Mile, Victoria, and people are speaking French. And they are wondering why you don't speak French. Because they believe that, they own the place. They're walking around like kings. Now, our people know what to do. This is not for us to start debating. Whoever was playing the semi-final in Victoria was going to be the target of a lockdown, was going to be the target of a ghost town. It just happens that it is La République du Cameroun that is playing there. There is no other message to give to the colonizer when they just walk into your house than to show them that they are not welcome. And again, the message here will be delivered, not because there will not be people in the stadium, because La République is going to guard everyone like the guard of the Cardinal, bringing him to Bamenda. The people of Ambazonia just have to make sure that everyone who comes from across the border from La République du Cameroon without visas, that they understand that they're in violation in territory that does not belong to them, that they are here like illegal immigrants, that they are not welcome, and that they will not find anybody, showing any company to them in that Victoria. So I just hope that our people understand this. It is an important message that we are sending around. That message is not only to La République. That message is also to FIFA and to the Confederation of African Football. And the message to them is this: the United Kingdom is one country, but it has more teams in the FIFA than one. Okay? And Tanzania is one country, but it has more teams than one. There's a Federation of Zanzibar that is admitted to the Confederation of African Football. They at FIFA and at CAF have the application from the people of Ambazonia to admit Ambazonia as a federation. They need to proceed so that people who pretend to be our people, can no longer come and tell them stuff about, we are one and indivisible country. We are not. We are 2 and perfectly divisible countries, and right now completely divided. As there's no player who played in Victoria who left without knowing that this country is a divided country, that there are 2 countries here, that there's an English-speaking Southern Cameroon where you don't mess around because there's a war going on and they're resisting genocide. And then there's French-speaking Cameroon where everyone does not care about how many people are killed in Ambazonia. So everybody takes away that message. And that message should be sent again on Wednesday, very clearly.
Thank you, Ntumfoin. Let us see. I think Prof. Ayim has tried to reconnect. Prof. Ayim, can you hear me, please? I think we still have the same problem. With your audio. I just can't tell why. I see it functioning here just okay, but we just cannot hear you. We just do not hear you. Unfortunately, sir, I will get you back next time. I really wanted to get your thoughts on this subject. Unfortunately, we can't get your audio working. All right. Let me get back to Ntumfoin on the event in Limbe. So far, as a sportcaster, I mean, you know how these things are organized. La République has not been able to sell tickets in Victoria throughout these matches. And we now learn that CAF wanted those matches taken out of Victoria, but for political reasons, La Republique insisted those matches must remain and continue in Victoria. How do you think they are going to recuperate the losses that they make and their inability to sell those tickets in Victoria? They were expecting to sell at least 20,000 tickets a day.
Well, La République has a blank check written by France to cover both for events like this and for the genocidal war that they're waging. So they will turn to the French and they will get a check cut, which they will pass on to CAF. And CAF, being the corrupt organization that they know, they will perfectly swindle it. That's what they have been doing. That's part of the reason why we've had all kinds of trouble with the Confederation of African Football. It's not such a great organization. I can say that, I worked with Abel Mbengue in 1988 when we had to put together the campaign for Issa Hayatou when he became president of CAF. When we were in our hotel, locked down in our hotel in Morocco. It was the first time that a leader of CAF was running to be president of the Confederation of African Football with a real program of action. But that leader, when he retired from an organization that denied him pension, and they were trying to catch up when they showed up in Cameroon. So these people, they're just so corrupt. We know that of recent, the Malagasy president of CAF just got reinstituted by a court order because he had been suspended by FIFA linked to corruption. The court order has not determined whether the corruption case has been established or not, so the matter is still in court. And I will not be surprised if the outcome, ends up being what it is that we suspect it is going to be. So CAF has always been in the red, basically. And when I mentioned the tournament in 1988 in Morocco, the king of Morocco basically paid the tickets for everyone, begged people to come to the stadium. People did not come to the stadium because people did not know why it was important to put so much money into a tournament when people were starving, when people were not getting their daily bread. And in La République du Cameroon, these people decided that this, what they can call a sovereignty expense, was more important than investing in water. That's why you had a tournament in Victoria where nobody had water to drink. You're going through a coronavirus pandemic and they tell you wash your hands frequently. Well, in the case of Ambazonia, that particular slogan will have to be wash your hands frequently if you can find water, because there's no water anywhere, and we're sitting right at the mouth of the Victoria River, the Limbe River, named after a colonialist. That's why I was hesitating to use Limbe, because that is the German colonialist who showed up in Victoria and named that river after himself. But how can you be sitting in the mouth of Limbe, that particular river, and you don't have water in town? You have to be the most incompetent government, and Mr. Biya, takes away the cake. But when you're as incompetent as this regime is, then you end up with that, and then you prioritize building up stadia across the country, inviting all of these people, paying their hotel bills, paying their security bills, and paying the tickets, even when there are no spectators, because apparently you don't know what to do with money. It's just a disgrace.
Well, Barrister John, I will give you 1 minute to come in and add your take on that, and then we will open the phone lines for Ground Zero to give us their own take on all this.
Yes, Chris, I think Dumpo has nailed it, but let me be blunt here. La Republique is going to bring in their spectators from Douala, from Yaoundé, through the Chico Douala Road. Our restoration forces to do everything possible that nobody enters. And even if they enter, there must be incidents. And listen, this is the time for our restoration forces to step up for Victoria, because this involves La République du Cameroon entering our territory illegally because of football. Like Dumpo said, they are entering without a visa, they are entering without any authorization. They know that Victoria is in Ambazonia, is the commercial city of Ambazonia. and they want to come and play football there without a visa, without invitation. Our restoration forces to step up. What they did when those matches were taking place, they should double that. And this is the last the straw, because Cameroon is going to play, and we are going to have a very big security problem. Therefore, our forces that move in should stay embedded and should stay ready to act and make sure that nobody goes to that stadium. Nobody from Victoria goes to that stadium. Nobody coming in should go to that stadium. Having said that, La Republic has all the military gadgets and all the military arsenal to bring in some people. We cannot completely ask that the whole of La Republic that will be coming, nobody will get there. But they should get there at a cost. Our people should inflict a cost on La Republic of Cameroon. That's all I'm saying. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. We will open the phone lines for people in Victoria, people in Bamenda to call in and give us their take on the events taking place there. While you call, make sure that, please, you turn down the volume of your set before you call. This is very, very important. If you do not turn down the volume of your set, I won't be able to pick your call. So please, again, before you call, make sure that the volume of your television set is turned down. All right. Now, while we wait for the phone calls, let me come back to Ntumfoy. Do you think, as we sing in the song, or as Sonny Okoson sings in the song, we want to know who owns the land? Do you see an Ambazonia controlling that land, taking care of events in that territory since this war was launched on us, or since we declare our restoration in October 2017? Do you see us increasingly taking that urge?
Well, anybody who is not seeing what is happening is blind, maybe doubly blind. La République de Cameroon has maintained a presence in the colonial barracks where they are, in the fortified colonial barracks like at Upstation Bamenda, or in places where they are encircled within 100 meters by soldiers. And these people go nowhere without being escorted by armored vehicles. The only other place that I know that is happening right now is in Central African Republic, where the capital city Bangui has been encircled by rebels. And former Prime Minister Martin Zingele was saying the other day that I can't even go to the airport without military escort. I mean, welcome to Ambazonia. That is what is happening. Now, these people can claim a few pockets of land amounting to acres or hectares of land, and they generally are around brigades. They are around military barracks. Everything else is in the hands of Ambazonia. We fully occupy, because people keep worrying about whether we are occupying territory. No, we fully occupy territory. If you are talking territory, we occupy maybe 95% of that territory. The only thing that La République du Cameroun occupies is the barracks, is the fortified colonial administrative headquarters in these places. When they step out of them, saying they are going to Ngi, they find out that they are not welcome. When they step out of them and say they are going to bring a cardinal from Rome, they find out we need heavy military escort to bring him in. Even when they bring their president pro tempore, who is Ferdinand Ngongo, they still have to know that the man has to be inside, an armored car. When they organize elections, they move around their former ministers and all the rest in armored cars. That is the only way they can walk around in Ambazonia. So control, ownership, and occupation of land in Ambazonia belongs to the people of Ambazonia. And these people are unwelcome parasites who know that their days are numbered.
All right. Before Barrister John, you weigh in on that, let me get this caller from, I guess, Europe. It's a very important caller. I know he's calling in view of the events in Victoria. Hello, sir.
Hello, Sec Chris, and good evening to everybody on ABC. This is Prince J.K. I want to, first of all, before I talk on Victoria, I want to thank Pablo Hebert for such brilliant wisdom he put out on Abdulkarim's presence in that cathedral. That's one. What can I say? That's one great move from our comrade Abdulkarim, and I applaud him for that, making himself among the midst of lions and speaking the truth to the hypocrites who attended that meeting. I know he will do a good job. Just like you said to Chris, if I were to see you in that place amongst those people, I know you there will do a good job. We need such people like Abdulkarim more on ground zero, which walk in their ways to make sure Ambazonia message, Southern Cameroonian message is being given to the right people and spoken to the right command, which actions can be taken when it concerns diplomatic moves. Now to Victoria, I want to tell Ambazonian people, those in Victoria watching, that they have seen Victoria. It's not like before, because good hands have taken over Victoria. Yeah, if we all can do the way we are doing in Victoria, that means this war is no longer too far for it to come to an end. So everybody watching from Victoria, please stay home. You don't know who you will meet out. You don't know who you will meet. Before you go, maybe dig your grave, because as you're going out, you don't know what you will meet. You might go, you will not come back. Yes, you will go, you will not come back. The Ambazonian war is taking a new approach, and people who want to give victory to Ambazonia, people who want this war to end as fast as possible, are sitting in the right places to do the right job. So if you're in Victoria, you have been seeing what has been happening. If you go out, whatever happens to you, have yourself to be blamed. Have yourself to be blamed. That's why I'm calling on this panel to pass this message. Once again, thank you, Secretary Chris. Thank all your panelists. And I want to say kudos to Bo Habet for that wonderful explanation. Kudos to Abdulkarim. Watana Abdulkarim. I like that. God bless you.
Thank you, Prince J.K. for that call. Let's get this other caller from ground zero. Hello.
Yes, good evening.
Yes, good evening. May I know where you're calling in from, please?
I'm calling from Bamenda.
Okay, can you please raise your voice a little bit?
I'm calling from Mezam County, sir.
Okay, thank you. And what do you have to contribute?
Yes, my only contribution this day today is about the riders. Please, I want to help the entire Amberland. Anybody on a walk on a country Sunday day, we should not bother ourselves. Anybody who is found on the street, just use your camera, snap it, and send it to the appropriate channels. If we send it to your numbers to this numbers on it.
I'm sorry, you are breaking up. You are breaking up. We can't get you good enough. Let's get to the next caller. All right. Hello.
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 Hello. Good. I'm calling from Bamenda.
Yes, sir. Good evening. What is your contribution, sir?
I want to contribute about the ghost town.
Yes, go on.
Okay. Hello. Yes, in Bamenda.
Hello.
Hello, Chris.
Please turn down the volume of your television because I can hear myself in your background. Turn it down so you can hear and focus on your phone.
Okay, I call from Bamenda.
Okay, go on. What today for your mind?
I declared for the ghost town when I will put them. I be here where they be talking to the key man for. They say they shoot a gendarme for Amumezam. They say something happened for my phone. I see away. Okay.
Hello?
You get me now, sir?
Go on. I'm hearing you. Go on.
Okay.
Hello? Okay, when you call, that is why I said, ladies and gentlemen, when you call, make sure that the volume of your set is turned down. Hello? I cannot take any caller with the volume of the television set turned on or turned up. So please make sure the volume of your set is turned down. Okay, let me get this message from one of our viewers who said, "Good afternoon, Sec Chris. The lockdown was very successful. Thank you for the explanation again. If you weigh the situation and it is favorable on our side, we can then ask our people to return to their stores." We have actually done so this afternoon. We have asked that people can return to their shops tomorrow, Monday. I'm talking about Bamenda in particular. For Fako, Wednesday remain a huge lockdown day. A huge lockdown day, but for Bamenda, lockdown is lifted. Tomorrow morning being Tuesday, you are free to go back to your business, to your jobs, to your shops, do business as usual. All right, let me get to see who is calling here. Hello. Hello.
Hello, Secretary Chris. Good evening.
Good evening, sir. May I know where you are calling from, sir?
I call from Finland.
From Finland, okay. And what is the contribution?
Yeah, I want to talk about this cardinal he visit for Cameroon. As this man comes, so plenty people that they glad say cardinal they come bring solution for this problem. So one thing there I want to make people they understand. If you seek independence for the outside, or you seek independence for get a new country, no ever depend for cardinal, because cardinal will never do that. People the way they listen cardinal talk about me, he talk say he call na two word peace and reconciliation. I know here he call what say justice.
Correct.
I know here he talk say the root cause of the problem. So even they talk today, so get two option for table. Well, maybe Vatican one or another country one mediate. I prefer me that another country mediate, because Vatican no the can give any man independence. Vatican the kind of can make peace. They like a peace building. How do I call it? Like they get peace building diplomacy. They know they can't give any man country. Now which country we don't get independence for this outside way? Now Vatican we go negotiate and they get our independence. Me no man not depend for Vatican. If Cardinal to me, Catholic Church that church way it get a structure, it get an administrative structure. If Cardinal to me if the lie way to the lie, so how many how much lie if they talk and we say their national episcopal conference? Because before something one go inside national episcopal conference, if you come out for Bishop of Bamenda, go for ecclesiastical province for he come out for Boya, go Bamenda, come out Bamenda, go for Douala, come out Douala, go for national conference. So if this kind of thing where he pass to Cardinal and Cardinal where the talk lie pass all things. If you say Catholic Church we can give Southern Cameroon independence, I don't even say, I just say they have a moral road, they get on road where they play with all man, they recognize them, but the church no be ever give Southern Cameroon any freedom. And they don't even care about the root problem. Their problem, I say, me they can't soften people with their mind. They don't say peace and reconciliation. They always will say peace and reconciliation. There will be no peace if you don't address the root causes of this problem.
Thank you. We get the point. Thank you. We get your point. Thank you for the call. It was fun. I think it makes a very, very profound point there. And you remember, you are part of the ARC coalition team. The bishop, the cardinal in Bamenda talked of peace and reconciliation. There is nothing like talking about the root causes to this conflict. Do you see?
Yeah.
Would you support the Catholic Church weighing into this conflict to mediate?
Well, I would say very bluntly no, because it's very simple. There is already a mediator. The people who were with the cardinal in Bamenda, Ferdinand Gongo, they are totally opposed to the mediation. They are totally opposed to peace. These are the promoters of the genocide. These are the people who do not want the war to come to an end. As a matter of fact, Ferdinand Gongo is hoping that the confusion linked to the war that will happen when he's hoping and praying that Mr. Biya dies will allow him to sail into the top job. That is their prayer. And these people have no intention to pursue anything about peace. Now, the Catholic Church has got the Santa Egidio group that works on mediation and peace. It is the group that brought together the South Sudanese leaders who have been at each other's throats. You remember the pictures of the Pope kissing the feet of the leaders of South Sudan. It is a process that is difficult to put together in our setting. But you can trust Ferdinand Gongo to try and invent something with the Cardinal and invent something with the Vatican to say to our people that the Vatican is opening the doors to talk to us with respect to our situation. The people of Ambazonia are hereby warned, they are hereby, advised with respect to this possibility, because Ngongo is looking for any way to get out of the Swiss-led process. People have told us how, everybody who went to the Swiss-led process has been paid. So if they had paid us and they were only supposed to come and collect the bacon, why are they running away? Why are they not showing up? They are looking around and shopping for the Vatican to get involved because they are hoping they can find people. And nobody should tell you that the Vatican is not corrupt like hell. Because just last week, a bishop who was linked to the Vatican bank was sentenced. There are lots of bishops who are pulled out because of all kinds of things, including here in the United States. So it is not, the church, the body of Christ, is pure, but the church, that house and the organization that's led by the Vatican is just as evil as everything else. It's just as sinful as everything else. And our people need to focus. There have been all kinds of opportunities and trials by everyone ever since 1948 to start a new mediation process that will not be led by the United States when it comes to peace in the Middle East. The United States remains firmly in that position. The people of Ambazonia have got great support from the government of the United States of America. And I ask the people of Ambazonia to stay focused. It is not who should mediate, it is who will guarantee the outcome, implementation of the outcome of what you seal at the table. That is absolutely important. And we have told everyone who is opposed to the Swiss-led process, there is no deal until we have signed a deal. And there will be no deal unless it is independent. So there should be no fear with respect to engaging. The international community wants us to be seen as those who do not want peace. We must continue to tell everyone that La République du Cameroon is not interested in peace. They are absolutely interested in war. And to maintain that war, they will go out and kill as they did at Metakwata. They will go out and kill as they did with the children in Kumba, so that they can turn around and say, look, those guys are terrorists. We cannot talk to them. They will try every rule in the book and they will break every rule in the book, but they will not be successful.
All right, thank you. Let me get this caller first, Barrister John, before you can weigh in on that. Hello.
Hello, Secretary.
Hello, yes. Where are you calling from, please?
Bamenda.
Okay, go ahead. What is in your mind?
The tango na plenty for the ghost tango we don't respect them. All thing they fine, all thing work are fine. We tango na as when I don't talk we should don't, but when something happen the other group where they bring confusion for ground zero, we dey for interim government. They will be talking at them. When anything happen, they say at them. Anything happen, they say at them. We know say they know the fight, they work make no noise. But we for ground zero we dey with interim government 100%. Thank you, Secretary Chris.
All right, thank you. I appreciate that. Barrister John, I would like you to weigh in on that. We saw the AGC with their so-called ADF first trying to puncture the lockdown, and then when the lockdown is over and successful, as I think you mentioned before, they're coming out to claim victory, what they did on the ground. Please, I would like you to come in there, and if possible, Ntumfon can say something there.
Yes, Chris,
These
before
controversial
I do that,
positions.
I want to comment on the possibility of the Vatican presenting itself as the mediator for this conflict. And I want to say that we as Ambazonia will not accept the Vatican because the Vatican has proven not to be a neutral party to this conflict. Its actions, its windows, its behavior, and everything that the Vatican has done so far, beginning even with Rwanda and with us now, we will not accept any church organization to be a mediator in this conflict. We have a mediator, which is the Swiss mediation, and until they can prove to us why not the Swiss, because they are relatively neutral, they are very neutral, then there will be no negotiation. We will kick La Republic out through firepower. We are determined to go even for 100 years. They will never get back our land. Having said that, this enables Chris, like I said before. Ayabacho has long since stopped fighting for the independence of the Federal Republic of Amazonia. Ayabacho fights now with La Republic of Cameroon, or enables La Republic of Cameroon to kill our people. Every time that he sees an opening, a window of success, he comes in with his Capo Daniel and all the other enablers that walk around them and claim responsibility. These are people who fought this lockdown from the time the interim government pronounced it. And now they are claiming victory for Bamenda, for what has happened in Bamenda. It's a shame. They did the same thing in Victoria. They went to Victoria. ADM does not exist in Victoria. And now, Capo Daniel was claiming victory for what happened in Victoria. Total rubbish.
Well, all right. I will pass it over to Ntumfon briefly, please, so we can get to the next caller.
Well, very early in this struggle, there was a bomb attack using gas bottles at hospital roundabout in Bamenda. Exactly. Somebody claimed credit for it. Then there was an attack at the SCDP depot, petrol stations in Douala, and somebody claimed credit for it. Then they burned down Sonara, and somebody claimed credit for it. And then we saw guns from South Africa shopped on the internet and positioned as guns in Ambazonia, and somebody took credit for it. When you've had a lot of this stuff where you take credit for stuff that basically does not exist, stuff you've not done. I mean, we also saw the guns from the B in Bui, and somebody took credit for it as our guns. We're going to Nigeria to buy more guns with so many guns, and we're not fighting. It is important for our people to understand that in a war like this, some people just work on the propaganda. They just work on saying, I did this. They're waiting around so that when something happens, then they jump. Don't forget, the Capo Daniel you're talking about is the same guy who said, he went up and took credit for a bomb that La Republic Cameroon had supposedly put on Commercial Avenue. So when you take credit for a bomb placed at Commercial Avenue, you're basically saying, I'm targeting civilian population because there's no military target on Commercial Avenue. When people go out and say that, you have to ask yourself, what is wrong with these people? And when they have already said, we are going to do this all alone, you have to ask yourself, people on the ground, ask yourself, why is it so impossible? We don't have to agree on everything. We have to absolutely at least agree on the fact that we are going to work together to get to Boya. If someone decides, if any group decides that they will work all alone and brag to you that they will be the only one who will deliver to you and tell you that it is about who gets to Boya first, then they will take power and they can fight everybody else. Be very careful. Be very careful. Step away from that. And please, when you do your thing, people of Ambazonia, take credit, because you are the ones doing this stuff on the ground. Those of you who are fighters on the ground, volunteer self-defenders on the ground, you are making this possible. Those of you who are shutting down your shops with ghost towns, you are making this possible. Those of you who can go and take the rostrum in front of the Bamenda main market and tell the unelected mayors to their face and the colonial divisional people that they cannot open their own offices, but they are asking you to open your stores in violation of Country Sunday. You are making this happen. Don't let people, including some of us who live abroad, take credit for your work. You are doing this for Ambazonia, not for any group. When you get the directives and they work, acknowledge. We just said a moment ago, there was a lockdown instituted because the shops were being shut down in Bamenda. It just happened by accident that there was an overflow into the Cardinal's visit at this particular moment. But even if there was not, we would have had to say there should be a lockdown to show, okay, we're sending a message, specific message. We're not going to let someone come into Bamenda and walk away from there saying the place is perfectly fine, there's no trouble there. When they go around and they see that they need to be guarded by this, killers, the killer squads of the bee that were all over the Cardinal, then he goes back to Rome, recognizing, oh my God, even Pope Francis can go out and have dinner with the homeless, can sneak around in Rome, can drive around in a tiny little car when he visits the United States. But his cardinal could not walk around in Bamenda free. He was everywhere in chains.
All right, let's get the last caller here. Hello.
Hello.
Yes, sir. May I know where you're calling in from, please?
I'm calling from Australia, please.
Okay, and what is your contribution, sir?
Thank you. I just wanted to call in and say thanks to your panel, Barrister Fru and Senior Comrade Bo Herbert. Really appreciate the good work that you guys are doing. I was just following up on one of the callers that was called from Europe, saying that we need more people for diplomacy on ground zero. I just wanted to make some corrections there. The only thing we need on ground zero at this moment is restoration forces. You want to support the struggle and do the best you can? Come to the diaspora. There's no diplomacy on ground zero. Come to the diaspora. You want to finance this struggle financially? You can. The diaspora is doing it. Join us. Let's do it. There's not a lot someone can actually do on ground zero. That's my contribution. Thank you, Sec Chris.
All right, a great point made there. Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. Let's see who else is here. Hello. 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 Guess a bad connection there. All right, I think we will call it a day with this course. Let me see if this one goes through. Hello.
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 Yeah. Good day.
I can hear you. I can barely hear you, sir. Can you raise your voice a little bit?
Okay, I call for Bamenda.
Okay, and what do you have to contribute?
No, I want to just congratulate you for what's way to go on. I watch you live for Bamenda and to make a man say the lockdown we work out fine.
Okay.
You work out fine.
All right.
Yes, you work out fine. And I want back on say Muna put more firearm for ground zero. You know, continue for work out fine. Therefore, the lockdown work out fine. And thank you for the program on around in advance for the one for 11 February. So we prepare ourselves too for house. So before that one for 11 one come, we don't prepare because the one come.
Plenty people they cry for house because they no be prepared fine. But we will follow in our life, we prepare. So when as the one don't come, we already give we date. We will start preparing now for the week before that 11 but one come. So thankful now. God will continue for guiding you. We should pray with go.
All right. Thank you. I appreciate that, and thanks for mentioning again the next lockdown that comes up on the 8th of February through the 11th of February. Again, the next lockdown for all of Ambazonia comes up the 8th of February through the 11th of February. So we hope that all of you can begin to make preparations towards that. Itum Foin and Barisan. So let me give you a minute each to make your last point, and we'll call it a day. So, Itum Foin.
Yeah, well, first let me just thank you again and thank senior comrade and senior brother Barrister So for being available and for always clarifying these issues. This is a platform that allows us to to have a bit of conversation and communion with our people, but we really would like to go beyond our people, because today I think our big focus was to try and tell the Vatican that they have got priests who have gone local, who have gone native, who have decided that they are going to be politicians working for La République du Cameroon. And this is a very dangerous trend for the Catholic Church, because they need to look to Rwanda, what happened there. The people of Ambazonia are going to be unforgiving for a church that aligns itself with the devil, because Bishop Nkea said the devil is a liar. No, the devil is in Yaoundé, and he is not a liar. We know the devil. We have seen him. We have seen his works, and he is destroying people, including killing some of them right there in Metakwata, burning down PSS Mancon by night. They are right there. They're looking for bishops. They killed the one of Bafia. Before we know, there will be one in Ambazonia, because somebody is going to speak up, and they need to speak up because Christ is asking them to speak up. They either accept their calling or they retire from it. It is either they are bishops in Kasok or they are politicians in Kasok. And we will know them by their fruit and by their word and by the kind of sermon that they preach. And we Christians will understand that the church that has turned into a political theater, and every sermon has turned into a political rally, that church does not want to see our people. Because our people demand justice as of a right. We will say that in front of God because we are not afraid. We will speak that truth to God himself. We will not have to go to any confession. But alas, for those who decide that their choice is going to be to work for the money, to work like Judas Iscariot, because he ended up on a rope.
Thank you. Barrister John, please, your last point there.
Chris, I'd like to thank all our citizens in Ground Zero for a successful week, a successful lockdown that has yielded fruit. And before I go, Chris, I'd like to make a clarification here. I will call on our brother Abdulkarim to tell Ambazonians what is called to the cardinal, because I would not have done this. I would not have been making this call if I did not read that article in Facebook. And so let him tell us what he discussed with the cardinal. And some of
don't you think that perhaps you wanted to brief the ARC team before putting out that message?
Well, no, he can brief the ARC team. That's fine, but I want to be able to know what happened, since I've read his article immediately after that meeting in Facebook, which was at variance with what we were supposed to report. And I will not jump pressing him until I know what he discussed with the cardinal.
Let me just jump in one small second.
Let me finish.
Let me just jump in one
second. Let Barrister John join in, conclude, and I will have you in, please.
Okay. Brief the ARC team, and I will get to know. But reading that article in Facebook, it was nauseating to me, because I read between the lines. I know my man Abdulkarim is my son. I know him very well. And when he writes something, I read it between the lines. and I want to hear from him about what happened in Bamenda. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Barrister Tumfon, please.
No, I was just going to say to my senior brother here that that because we are dealing with the issues of the state of Amazonia, that we will say a lot of things to our people, but there are some things that we are not going to say because they are not to our advantage, and he has to trust me and trust that I wouldn't be making an argument. I mean, Abdulkarim is being targeted because he showed up to speak the truth, to tell these people, including the people who are killing our people, right to their face, that I'm here to tell you that the people of Amazonia will not give up their land. But the details of what we pass on to the representative, the foreign minister of the Vatican, which is a country, should be something that we keep as a matter of state secret. There's additional communication that's going to go from ACT directly to the Vatican to make sure that the message in writing gets to the Vatican. So don't worry, big bro, and you and I are going to talk on the phone as well.
That's fine. That's fine. But if I didn't read that article in Facebook, I will not be asking for any further information.
All right.
Yeah, let's trust our brothers. They're doing a good job. I can tell you that.
All right.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen. I think we had a very good time here. I look forward to having you back again in the days ahead. You have a great day, sirs.
Same to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris.
All right. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, that was it. That was it for today. I'd just like to remind all of Amazonia on ground zero of lockdown coming up February the 8th through February the 11th. February the 8th through February the 11th. And I also like to remind everybody in Fako of lockdown coming up after tomorrow. That is Wednesday against French Cameroon Impulse Chan tournament in Victoria. And we want to see that stadium as empty as it can be, because right now it's no longer Zambia against Tanzania. It is the colonial team against Morocco, and we detest everything colonial Cameroon. So we expect everyone in Victoria to remain home on Wednesday and not go out for for that match. I want to remind you, please go to Play Store, download ABC app to be able to have access to ABC 24/7. If you are not in Africa, you are in Europe, you are in the USA, you are anywhere else in Asia, you are able to watch ABC 24/7 with ABC app. You can get the app at the Play Store, Google Play Store. We are still working on the iOS, Apple version of the app. But if you have Android, please go to Play Store and download the app, and you'll be able to watch ABC on a very regular basis, 24/7. Thank you for tuning in.